Welcome to Through the Lens of Astrology. I'm your host, Heather Ariel, and we are still celebrating Aries season. If you missed the last a couple of weeks, we had a fiery new moon in Aries last week, and then a couple weeks ago, yeah, we welcomed the spring equinox. So if you missed those shows, check out my social media, Heather Ariel's House of Astrology. You can check me out on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, and you can catch up on those. And I always do a unique oracle card spread too, which you can also check out my social media if you just want to check in with those inspirational messages, because I'm always trying to unify the group. And if you're listening right now, if you're watching my video, or if you're listening to me on Beacon of Light Radio, yeah, you're part of the group. Okay. There's no initiation fee. There's no crazy hazing. That's all you got to do is just listen. Give me participate, share some of your beautiful energy, which is active. Listening is active. Yeah. So you can be at home just listening, and I'm very grateful and I thank you. And it's given energy to the whole group. So all right. Now I'm gonna talk about music today because we had the Grammys. So let's celebrate some music. And I am always talking about music and how music can help transmute our energy, right? Because it does it so quickly. Songs are like just a couple minutes long, right? I mean, some a little bit longer, but 1, 2, 3 minutes, and your energy can change instantly. That's the magic of music. So I'm always sharing songs that I like, and I'm encouraging you to just explore music because there's a song for every mood and all of that. And it also, there were some issues about copyright this week. Ed Sheeran won a big lawsuit. And I thought, well, let's talk about, because I do a lot of collaborations and I'm also an artist. So let's talk about um, artistic generosity. How can we celebrate our own imagination and our own creativity and then enjoy the imagination of others? And so I just thought, yeah, let's explore that. And then because Aries is all about finding new ways of doing old things, I said, you know what, I'm just going to do a totally new, different oracle spread that is going to bring in the energy of all the planets. Yeah, it's going to be an 11 card uh, planet energy spread. Now, I know you're saying, well, we don't have that many planets, but in astrology, we just say everything's a planet. I know the sun's a star, but you know what? It's, yeah, in astrology, we just call them planets. So in my group, we even include Chiron. It's like an asteroid, whatever. So but it's going to be, and we're going to then be inspired by those messages and to say, okay, let's bring in, how can we connect to each planet and then the sign that that planet is in, because, just to kind of find a new way to connect to the astrology, because that energy is available to all of us. Now, when I think about music and then creativity, and then it goes into the we talked about, there's a lot of, oh, this song sounds like that, and artists are getting, there are a lot of lawsuits right now. And something that I've always done, most songs to me, a lot of songs to me, make me think of another song. And I actually, I mean, I really love it. It's like that. I think, that's like a Gemini connection. And I always say art should speak to other art. It's like art is a conversation. And, I saw a wonderful interview with John Batiste, and he cleaned up. I think he had 11 nominations and he won a lot of awards. He got the big award too at the Grammys. And, you know, everything out of his mouth is like a poem. It's amazing. And he really highlights the poetic, symbolic beauty of art and music. And he was really saying, I mean, it was what I saw him in a couple of interviews. I saw him on CBS Sunday Morning, then with Fareed Zakaria. So you can check that out. But he was really saying, art tells us what to do. So, it's like, what do we do? Okay, we don't know what to do. Well, let's listen to music, let's experience art, because it's on that poetic, symbolic level. as is astrology, we can really find inspiration. And I think that's what he's talking about. Because it inspires our humanity, then it tells us what to do, because we should always be acting from a place, right, of our most profound levels of humanity, right? That's how we make the best decisions. Yeah. So I just found it very, very beautiful and poetic. And he has a great song about, what freedom means to him, and he dances. I mean, he's an amazing dancer. And I'm always talking also about physicalizing, because if I physicalize something, that also transmutes my energy, but also it's like it's like you're really putting yourself in someone else's shoes. Right. And so that's why, one thing I talk about, well, find the music that also makes you want to move and dance, right? And even if it's not dancing, even if it's just like, that's not, I mean, that's not really dancing, but it's like anything that just makes you want to move is shifting your energy, and it wakes you up. And the purpose is to help you be present, right? Everything, I often talk about how can we be present with our energy, right? So I'm just bringing you all these ways to be really connected and present. Awareness of what is the energy going on, what's the highest manifestation, all of that. But then also, if you feel that, when I say transmute the energy, it's another way of saying, if you feel disconnected, if you feel disconnected from maybe an emotion, from maybe just, or you don't have energy, you feel lack of focus, there's something, you're not really being present, right? So that's why I'm bringing in music. All right. You listen to a song, or, you read a poem, you do, and then it's like, okay. Or, listen to some comedy and laugh. I mean, oh my gosh, laughter is completely transports you. But it's all about um, allowing that, and going ahead and saying, okay, by physicalizing, it's like, ooh, and we got the Uranus card last week, which means, as part of the inspiration of how can we embrace this fiery, fearless new moon in Aries, which, those messages are still good, right? Uranus was in the mix. So we got to find ways to really um, awaken, right? And it's like Uranus shakes us up. So, I thought, okay, let's be inspired by a little bit of that, and just how, let's put it in a positive light, because I'm really glad that, it's like, we need to be, artists need to be allowed to pay homage, right? It's like things we do things. I was talking about Buster Keaton, maybe in the last couple of weeks, and what a pioneer, because Aries is pioneering energy, and he did something where the house falls on him, and it's like it's copied all over the place. But it's also, if it's inspirational, it speaks to that, and it elevates it. I mean, and I was just watching Jackass, and they did it. The house falls on Johnny Knoxville. So it's like that Buster Keaton permeates. It permeates everything, right? So something that's so pioneering then is, it plays out, and we need to be allowed and encouraged to pay homage to other artists. It's like they're in a conversation. He joined in a conversation with Buster Keaton in that moment, and it's beautiful, right? And then you think of all the covers that people do covers. I mean, I think, I mean, if I get this right, I think Dolly Parton said she was in the car when she heard on the radio Whitney Houston singing, I Will Always Love You. And I think she said she pulled over. If I mean, maybe I'm not remembering that right, but she was definitely floored, okay, but listening to, like, just listening to that remake was just amazing. And so they're both beautiful works of art. And that's even like, think about a cover. They're singing the exact same song, and yet they're totally different. You have totally two different experiences, right? And I was just I think just last week, talking about how inspired I was by, Peter Gabriel's Sledgehammer. And then I was listening to a Harry Styles remake, and it actually got me out of this. I had no focus. I was so exhausted, and I listened to it, and I was just partway through the song, and I, like, did everything I needed to do, you know, and
that's the power. And those songs speak to each other. And so those versions, and then you think, of course, I mean, I can go on and on. Sinead O'Connor, what Prince said, nothing compares to you. So it's like, it made me think a lot about, you know, how can we, art is this beautiful dialogue, right? And that we need to be allowed, to speak to each other. And then, okay, I'm just going to throw this in just because I saw it last night. And this is, I guess, off because it's a movie. But I've been watching Death on a Nile, the Agatha Christie. It's a remake that Kenneth Branagh's done. And I've seen, because I'm a big fan of Agatha Christie. Oh my gosh. And I love all the David Suchet, Agatha Christie's, Hercule Poirot, right? But Kenneth Branagh, this is an amazing version. And it's a beautiful contribution. I thought, well, this is beautiful to like add to the conversation, right? And there's a real a gravitas to his Poirot, and a real, like, he's showing his heart is sort of on his sleeve in this one a little bit. And it's like, and I just thought, you know what? It's like, this is what it is. It's like a remake can be so different as a cover can. So, I was thinking about that. And, often I think about, so when you think about songs, an exercise, it's an activity, okay, that can be fun. Sometimes just listen to a song and just maybe ask yourself, okay, does it remind you of anything? Because in a way, that's going to trigger some really nice um, uh, connections. When I was listening to, so there's Feist song, okay? So Feist has Musha Bloom, and it was, oh, I love that song for a long time, okay? And then I was listening to a Harry Styles song, Canyon Moon, and and there's just like a couple notes. It was just like, I'm not going to do it because I don't think I'm allowed to sing anything, um, but it's like just a couple notes, and I was like, what? And I heard it, and it was like, and then it was like, oh, what? And then it's like you put it together, and then you play those songs next to each other, and it's just this gorgeous, beautiful dot. And it's just like, and it just elevates, and they're two totally different songs, first of all. It's just a couple of notes. But it just, I always talk about, we're unified, right? That's the goal. Is just as if someone, you cut yourself, I bleed. Well, it's like you sing, it's going to impact me. I'm going to hear it. It's like you have a thought. Yeah, I'm going to feel it. Okay. You have, and so it's art elevates in that way. It's the poet art, and astrology, art, it's anything that has that symbolic poetic expression. All of humanity is elevated with that. And it will impact you, whether you realize on a conscious level or not. It will be, doing that, and to allow, and that's part of why it's so rejuvenating and so healing. So I really have fun with all of that. And so that's something that, just because of what has been going on in the news, I was thinking of that. And it also made me think of one of my playwriting teachers, Eduardo Machado, a great playwright. And he always talks about artistic generosity. Okay. And it's a big deal, because there's a big difference between creating something and then asking somebody's opinion, or giving feedback to a completed work of art, right? It's like, you want to be generous. Like, your comment can be engendered by this magnificent work of art, versus coming up with something just out of thin air, right? It's like coming up with the whole thing, right? Versus a comment being engendered. And that's also something that, we always have to be aware of. We have to have artistic generosity. And so I've been very lucky. I've had amazing collaborations, and I'm always highlighting Tom Galtieri. And we really had one of those where we just build on each other, because it's blending. You blend when you work with each other, and it's a marriage, right? You blend. But then, it's like, I hear, one of my friends had a collaboration and wrote an entire musical, and all these songs, and then showed songs to somebody. And this woman, who's a bit of a narcissist, added a comma and then wanted her name. Said, okay, well, now the song's by both of us. So be a little careful, okay, about the people you make your collaborators. Just be a little careful of who you ask advice from, because you wanna, you know, yeah, people get a little carried away and there's the narcissism element and things like that. But I've been very fortunate. I've had some wonderful people, and I always hold that, let's be artistically generous and let's really say, is something engendered or that. Also, I'm bringing up the songs because it reminded me a lot of my I have my oracle cards, and I'm going to do an oracle spread with them. And a lot I chose, first of all, titles can't be copyrighted, so some people think they can. So I can write a play, yeah, named A Streetcar Named Desire. Yeah, it's not, I mean, I don't think I'd want to, but I could. So I picked song titles as inspiration for a lot of them because music is so important to me. And part of that is I to be present with our energy is how can we connect? So on an oracle card, you're going to get a beautiful work of art by artist Tom Cummins, okay? Which you can you can just look at the work of art and experience it, right? Then I put a message and maybe you want to read it. They're like little poems, okay? But then I put the song title to say, well, to me, that song title it sounds like that energy, because energy astrology has a sound, right? It has a feeling. To me it does. So that's a way to say, if you don't have a way into your energy, maybe go listen to the song I recommend. It's a recommendation. And then it may help you get into the mood of that energy, right? I'm always saying, I mean, I got a lot of Gemini and I'm always like, snapping, and it's very playful, and and it's like also like, listen to Alanis Morissette. She's got Gemini Scorpio, incredibly playful music, right? As well as the intense Scorpio. But like, you can like, it's like I'm always connecting in that way. And any music that's going to help you experience your energy and not such a, and with all the senses, right? Yeah. It's like we want to think, but we want to feel, and that, we want to like, what is something, you know, feel like. I just saw Billie Eilish on, I think it was Seth Meyers, and she was saying how important smell is to her, and that sense is really. I mean, smell is really important to me, and you think it's very Proustian, right? Like you have a smell, and it can transport you back in time to some very early experiences, and. She's come out with a new perfume, but like that's another way in. Like, what does your astrology smell like? Right? Like, what's it sound like? What's it smell like? How are you gonna physicalize that? And I even do things with music. I mean, one thing that you all can try, if you want, it's like, try to, I mean, we copy dances all the time, but I also just copy, I've been watching some high end videos, and I just love even the way they walk down the street. I just love it. And I just know it's like, if you just like, okay, just like, just, just try to like, okay, they do some of their gestures. It gets you, you then all of a sudden have a different experience than just sitting there like this, or even singing it. You know, and so that's, I mean, you don't have to be some great dancer. It's like, I mean, I love treat people with kindness. Now that one, you just got to dance it. I mean, that's a magnificent dance, and that's like, whoo, bringing out the big guns with that one. That's just so that kind of thing you know but think about how can you really connect with your energy in all of these ways, and be generous. Now the one thing I will say, because it also, with everything in the news going on about music this last week, I did think of Elvis, because I do listen to Elvis, and there are a couple things when Eminem talks about, oh, how Elvis took black music and made a lot of money off of it. And I was listening to Public Enemy, Fight the Power, and they talk about, yeah, Elvis doing that. So obviously, we want to make sure that that the parties involved are compensated financially, right? That we don't want like one person getting rich off of, we want like equal playing field, equal paying field, right? So we want like equal, so it's like that the fame and the wealth is as equal as is possible, right? When it happens. So you definitely, it's not good to find some obscure artist and then take it, and then it's like, oh, okay, I'm not saying that that's right, but so there's nuance with that. I was thinking, but all of these things, I was just thinking about, because it was in the news, but it was really, I thought it was wonderful. A lot of wonderful performances. Trevor Noah is always hilarious. He was a host, and so there was a lot of love in the room, and an eclectic music, and then You can check those out. And then Her did this amazing duet, this with Lenny Kravitz, was just, you know, really amazing. That just kind of like, oh, okay. So, you just get transported by doing, some of these things.